It's another edition of Time About the Movies as we get ready to start a brand new month in real life. We're starting a brand new month in 1991, July 5th, 1991, aka 4th of July weekend. And I'm not even going to waste my time because we have 4 movies to look at here. Let's just get right on into it with the first movie. And that is, of course, the biggest movie release of the year. And that was, of course, Terminator 2, Judgment Day. You know, something about Terminator 2 going into this movie's release was that it was a big hit. The original film was a big hit at the time. It did make a ton of money at the box office. It did have this huge cult following. But, of course, this comes 7 years after the last movie did. And, at least to me, I'm always one of those people that believes if you take way too long on a sequel, chances are it's not going to turn out very well. Like, usually the best time to release a sequel, in my opinion, is somewhere between 2 to 5 years. Like, 2 to 5 years, it seems like the perfect ratio for a sequel that could be as good, if not better, than the first movie. But, I mean, that's just my personal opinion on it. And when you have a movie like this that has James Cameron back in this, as well as Arnold Schwarzenegger and Linda Hamilton, yeah, you can get excited, and you can definitely get excited for it, and you can definitely see the potential for something great here. And there really is a lot to this movie that was at stake here, because not only was there a ton of marketing for this movie, they hyped this movie up to an ungodly level. The teaser trailer for this, that came out in '90, is still one of the most badass teaser trailers I've ever seen. I can't show it here because most of it is music, and I'm afraid of copyright infringement from YouTube, so definitely go look for the teaser trailer for that. But not only that, though, you had a summer that didn't have a big, gigantic potential blockbuster in it like past summers, like in '89 with Batman, or '90 with Terminator, Back to the Future, or 3, or Die Hard 2. Yeah, '91 was pretty much a summer where it was just like, it felt like a normal kind of summer, because you had Backdraft as the main thing that started it off on Memorial Day, and then you'd have movies like Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, which was a big hit, Dying Young, which they were projecting to be a big hit, and it didn't do anything like that. So, same with The Rocketeer, and then you have Naked Gun 2.5, which actually did better than the previous film. So this was the first major blockbuster of the summer, I guess, in my opinion, and they did a good job, and because you had it coming out on 4th of July weekend, you had all this build-up, there was a lot of promotions going around for it, it was pretty much everywhere with tie-ins to Pepsi, there was video games, action figures. I mean, Terminator was big, but was still a big thing back then, but this was still a very costly movie, specifically for the visual effects, because this was the first time the computer-generated main character was used in this, and because of this, the prints for this movie didn't get released to theaters until the night of its release on July 3rd, or the day before the night of its release on July 3rd. So, yeah, and with a budget of $94 to $102 million, it was the most expensive movie made at the time. So there was a lot of build-up for this movie, especially when you consider that Carolco Pictures was the main studio behind this. I mean, Columbia Pictures put it out, but they were just distributing it. Carolco put all this money into it, with the special effects used by Industrial Light and Magic. So there was a lot of high expectations going into this movie. And sure enough, not only did it succeed as a movie, it succeeded very well at the box office. It made over $52 million in its first 5 days, which in 1991 is pretty amazing when you consider that's the second highest grossing opening weekend of all time, behind Batman, which was at $53 million, I think. But nowadays, $51 million to $50 million isn't really that big of a box office for a movie of this caliber. It still is a big number for something like an original movie, like we recently had with Nope, which made over $40 million. But then again, we're still in post-COVID times right now. But it's unprecedented how well this movie did financially. It made much more money than the previous film did. And rightfully so, because really, what do I even have to say about this movie that hasn't already been said? It's an amazing movie. It's a movie that not only ups the ante on the previous movie, it's a movie that's not only still the best Terminator movie ever, but more importantly, it's a movie that still holds up to this very day on so many levels. The story is still very interesting and intense. The film does a good job of playing with your expectations, even though in the trailers they spoil some of the big moments in here a little bit. you can still watch this movie and know and be shocked by what happens next because of the way everything is shot and the way just James Cameron makes this movie. And the visual, like I said, the visual effects of this movie still hold up to this very day. The T-1000 still looks like a threatening menace. And usually with movies, early movies with CGI, you can usually tell where there's some dating on it, but not in this case. I mean, the movie still holds up a lot to this very day on so many levels. I mean, it's a great fun adventure film. It's a great action film. Again, it plays with your expectations on what you're expecting from this, and it really still holds up to this very day. Even as many times you can watch this movie, you can still be very impressed by what this movie is able to do. Like, it's like playing with your expectations, the way the action sequences are shot, the way the visuals are shot, the way the tension builds on so many moments, the way the action is played, the way they mix in comedy very well. The dramatic elements are very good. Like I said, the visuals still hold up very well. It's a mix of practical and the CG effects, and yeah, really, there's nothing more I can say about it. I mean, yeah, you got Arnold Schwarzenegger and Linda Hamilton. They're great. Eddie Furlong as John Connor, the young John Connor, plays a very good role in this. Like, he's not the typical annoying kid character in an action movie like this. I mean, it works very well for him. And then, of course, you got Robert Patrick as the T-1000. I was gonna say. I mean, he still is one of the great villains in movie history. And every time he's on screen, you just know that something is off with this guy. Even before you find out that he's actually the bad guy. Just great work on this movie all around. You could tell that James Cameron really puts a lot into these sequels that nobody else would really put into it. Like, you could have made this a cash grab movie, and I don't think it would have been as good as the original Terminator, but it definitely wouldn't be the cinematic epic that this really is. But this is a true classic movie. And honestly, like I said before, nothing has ever really come close to topping what this movie has done. We've had some good Terminator stuff in the years since this. Terminator 3: Rise of the Machines, I thought, was a decent movie. I'm one of the few people that really like Terminator Salvation. I really like the Sarah Connor Chronicles TV series. If you haven't seen that show, that's probably my favorite thing to come out of Terminator since Terminator 2. And then, of course, you had Terminator Genisys and Terminator Dark Fate, which completely dismantled anything good coming out of that franchise. It's weird, because it's like Alien and Terminator kind of had the same pathway. I mean, Alien and Terminator were groundbreaking sci-fi movies. They have sequels that are as good or even better than the original film. And then everything else that comes after, it's just not as good, if not any good whatsoever. Like, there will be some things here or there, but nothing really that tops the achievements that Aliens and Terminator 2 does. And, yeah, really, that's all I gotta say about it, because I think everybody has seen this movie. I don't even need to recommend it to people, because I think a lot of people have seen it and know how great of a movie it is, so what more do I even need to say about it? Terminator 2: Judgment Day. It's a freaking fantastic movie, and one of the best action movies of all time. Need I say more? So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to another sequel that actually tried to compete with Terminator 2: Judgment Day, and that was Problem Child 2. You know, it's funny enough, Rotten Tomatoes had the original Problem Child at 0% on on their website, and then Problem Child 2 comes along, and it actually did better by 8%, which isn't really all that much, but it's a step in the right direction, I guess. I mean, but in terms of Problem Child 2's box office and the fact that the movie opened on the same weekend as Terminator 2, yeah, you could tell that this movie wasn't going to do well whatsoever. I mean, this is the definition of a cash grab sequel on so many levels. Let's just redo everything that we did in the first movie, but let's add a girlfriend for Junior. Let's have another girlfriend for John Ritter's character, the father. Let's have Lorraine Newman from Saturday Night Live as the kind of antagonist of the movie, and Brian Levant directed this movie, and of course he would go on to have a better career after this movie, so you take what you get, I guess. But like I said, this movie just feels like a cash grab. It was a movie that you could definitely tell that they had no intention on making something that was as good or somewhat enjoyable as compared to the first movie was. But yeah, that's it. This is what we get. Problem Child 2, which, who knows? Maybe it has the cult following to it that I don't know about, but I certainly can't tell you about it. So That's Problem Child 2 for you, and that definitely a major step down from a movie that was not quite as, I don't know, not to me personally, it wasn't quite as good as I think a lot of people made it out to be, but at least it was better than this movie. So, with that said, let's get on to the next movie, and that is Richard Linklater's directorial debut, Slacker. Okay, technically, this wasn't his first directorial outing. He actually made a movie before that called "It's Impossible to Learn to Plow by Reading Books," but and that came out 3 years prior to this. But this movie in particular was the one that got Richard Linklater's name out there, and you can definitely see why. I'm a big fan of Richard Linklater's work. I've liked a lot of his movies, quite honestly. Dazed and Confused, I really like. I like the Before Sunrise trilogy, School of Rock. What else did he do? He did a very good remake of The Bad News Bears that was very underrated. The Scanner Darkly was very good. I like I like Me and Orson Welles. I like Boyhood. I like Everybody Wants Some. Like he makes a lot of good movies. This is one of his first outings as a director, and it is a very good movie. It's definitely right up your alley if you look at if you want to see some of the best of Richard Linklater. A lot of his stuff is definitely in this movie. It's a well-made film, very low budget, but it's a great film that works very well. It's one that I say definitely check out if you haven't seen it already. So, with that said, let's go ahead and get on to the last movie, and that is The Miracle. Yeah, this is about what I expect from Neil Jordan. Of course, Neil Jordan directed The Crying Game, and I mean, the trailer doesn't really give it all away, but I think you could pretty much figure out what the big twist of this movie is going to be. It's not quite the Crying Game levels, but it is still pretty. I'm not going to say anything, but so The Miracle. This is Neil Jordan. He also did Mona Lisa, High Spirits. We've already talked about another one of his movies, We're No Angels, and I mean, Beverly D'Angelo, I've seen her be very good in a lot of movies, not just comedic performances, but in dramatic performances as well. But there's also a mix of those movies that she did for TV, the TV movie of the week, where she's trying her best, but she's not really given a whole lot to do. This is one of those movies where I feel like that's what they were kind of going for here. This feels like a movie that was set to be a TV movie of the week, but then got blown up for the big screen because of the names that they had on there, and the director, and of course Miramax Films backing it up. But I don't know. Maybe it could be something. I haven't seen it, so I can't really comment on it too much. But that's just my thoughts going into that trailer right there, and it definitely does feel like something Neil Jordan would have directed. So that's really all I can say about The Miracle. And so with that said, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. The next time we meet, we look at July 12th, 1991. Got a pretty good list here, honestly. We've got the re-release of 101 Dalmatians by Disney. We also have John Singleton's Boys in the Hood. We also have Keanu Reeves and Patrick Swayze in Point Break. And we also have Harrison Ford and Annette Bening in Regarding Henry. So we will take a look at all four of those movies next time we meet. So thank you guys for watching. And as always, if you want to see more videos like this, check out the playlist on the next page. Check out the previous episode. And as always, I'll see you guys tomorrow for another episode. So thank you for watching. I will see you guys tomorrow. And until then, take care.